There comes a moment when something inside you softens and you no longer need to carry what was never truly yours. First time I experienced full-blown forgiveness was quite different from what I've been taught, because you can't really teach forgiveness. The forgiveness is like fruit warmed by the sun, softening when ready. That readiness often comes not from effort, but from insight. Let me share a story with you. It begins with a man who never loved my father. During spring holidays, while my parents were taking care of my kids, my mom, usually timid and quiet woman, called me on the phone, shouting excitedly, "It finally happened! It finally happened!" I was eager to hear more when she said, "Today was the day when I saw your father laugh for the first time." Some joke my son invented made my father experience tears of joy and laughter. It was a big day indeed. He laughed for the first time, and I realized for the first time that I grew up with a father who never laughed. To give a slight background to the heaviness I grew up with, my father was extremely intelligent and hardworking, and he had good intentions, but was very rigid and with the temper of a faulty pressure cooker. It built steam rapidly, and there was a little space between calm and eruption. Hearing my mom's discovery of his first laughter hit me harder than my fear of his rage ever did. It was an unexpected insight into the lifelong obvious absence of something. I saw the void of a non-believer in laughter, which I unknowingly became unable to entertain any thought of entertainment. Here's what I mean. Imagine a group of teenage girls giggling about crushes and lip gloss, and one odd little creature sat nearby, nose deep in Plato's allegory of the cave, determined to decode human nature. As autumn rolled in and the school year began, I asked my teacher to accept that I couldn't read fiction. I wanted to read Freud, Jung, and Plato, focus on psychology and philosophy instead of school-assigned children's novels. And not much has changed since then. But let's take Marcus Aurelius' advice. Let not your mind run on what you lack as much as on what you have already. So I won't deny the gifts of my upbringing, but if I had a chance, would I alter the past? Would I trade the observations of the mind I did for the mystery of laughter? What do you reckon? Years later, I discovered details about my father's childhood that could easily belong in a dystopian movie. And it felt like witnessing the destructive interference of two identical waves colliding to cancel each other out. And all that remained was something that made him much better than his father. He managed to be lighter than the weight of his pain, and that light part of him opened up the pathway to forgiveness. It wasn't an intellectual decision or a moral duty. It wasn't something I forced myself to do in the name of spiritual or psychological growth. It was simply when my judgment stopped presenting him as a monster, I saw him fighting with a much bigger monster his whole life, sheltering me from it the best he could. When we witness someone's source of pain, and realize it is not who they are in their essence, we do not deny heavy experiences they put us through or excuse their behavior. No, But instead we see their harmful actions as a reflection of their struggle with pain, and not as deliberate malice that would suggest humanity is inherently evil. No. Every suffering a human being inflicts on the other is simply an evidence of them losing a battle with their inner demons. Their war was never with you. Even if we leave and only love them from a distance, the key is believing that their love could grow big enough for them to win. It is a gift of love to believe, to them and to us. Because as Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So as a final thought, let me say this in just 2 sentences. Forgiveness is not blindness. It is simply not calling a human being by their demon's name.